Hi, hope your week is going well so far. Today I want to talk about unconscious behaviors. These are the unintentional ways that we might be undermining our own authority without even knowing it. And the most important part of talking about unconscious behaviors is to say that none of these behaviors are bad. Every single behavior that I'm going to talk about is completely useful when used intentionally. The trouble comes when it's unintentional because you might be signaling to yourself or to others that you are unconfident or that you are unsure. And that might not be the case at all because communication is contagious and we are constantly picking up on the verbal and visual cues of those around us. So when I talk about unconscious behaviors, I'm talking about fillers. That's what we put between our words in order to fill space because as a society, we are not very comfortable with silence. I'm talking about qualifiers. This is the way we might be unintentionally undermining our authority or confidence. Or apologies, which can be literal I'm sorries, or the ways that we don't take up enough space, or apologize for even being in the room unconsciously, which can be verbal or visual and body language as well. The most important part of unconscious behaviors is that none of these behaviors are wrong when used intentionally. I will often intentionally use a qualifier, especially if I'm meeting with someone who I want to feel comfortable. I will make myself sound less confident in order to make them feel comfortable. I do it all the time. And fillers are incredibly useful when you need to signal that you're thinking. Barack Obama did this brilliantly. He would use to tell his audience that he was deep in thought because he's a smart person and he needs to think. Duh. Now, I harness my unconscious behaviors, but I certainly have them. And you know why I know? I have a toddler, and this little toddler is now saying intentionally before she says something. I ask her a question and she says, so I know that I say it. And also, as much as I have harnessed my unconscious behaviors professionally, which I kind of have to do, new ones have crept in. The most recent one being I mean. So I'll use myself as an experiment here. Because there's nothing wrong with unconscious behaviors unless they're used unconsciously. I mean is signaling to myself that I'm unsure or I'm uncertain or I'm not being very comfortable with silence. So I'm going to tell you how I begin to harness that behavior. First of all, I need to hear it, and that is the trickiest part. I recognize that I say I mean at the beginning of a thought, and it's very repetitive. The only reason this is problematic is because 93% of communication is nonverbal. That's everything but the words: body language, tone of voice, facial expression, and eye contact. That means that when we hear the same sound, we think we're hearing the same thing, which is not true, but we think we are. And so sometimes our minds turn off and we go to our to-do list for later. So once I hear it, it's gonna drive me crazy for about 3 weeks before I can do anything about it. I hear it as a transitional element. I say I mean before a thought, in the moment of thought. It's signaling to me that I'm thinking, that I'm uncertain. The next thing I have to figure out is what function does it serve? Is it a filler? Is it a qualifier? Or is it apology? For me, I have come to realize that it's a qualifier. Coming right in and saying what I want to say can feel bold and overly confident, and I'm not comfortable with that in our society. So I say, I mean, it's also super contagious. I was around friends this weekend and we were all saying, I mean. So once I have recognized the function that it serves and I'm hearing it consistently, it's driving me crazy, I need to proactively replace it with something positive. I can't just tell myself not to do it. It's like any other habitual behavior. So instead, I'm going to ground down for a deep breath at those changes of thought. It's going to take a while, it's going to drive me crazy. And that's what I'm going to try to do over the next week. You want to join me? What's an unconscious behavior that you have? Once you hear it, can you make it conscious? And then can you proactively replace it with something positive? Grounding down for a deep breath. Cultivating silence is another one of my favorites. Comment below, let me know about your unconscious behaviors, and let's talk about them. Okay, have a good one.